I'm Duniya Salem Harhoor. I'm also part of the poetry cohort. And description, I am a light-skinned Egyptian American with curly dark hair and plants surrounding me and a jungly jumpsuit on. Divining Duet 1. Age of Enlightenment. Still, so still since 1767 in the Library Company of Philadelphia's dusty collection, a petite Egyptian woman's mummified left hand and arm waits, remains, her palm and fingers linen covered. I used to think the once every 6 month swooning blood sugar related, even though lab work was fine. When the tremors start coming once a week, I must beg for more testing, hoping the MRI will be covered. If a mummy is in perfect condition, does it stop being a body? If a reverend procures the stopped body, is it sanctified? If the perfectly conditioned former body is a tiny, used-to-be baby, what else does the special exhibit fee cover? At the prestigious Cancer Institute, I arrive early, but still wait 3 hours. After our expensive handshake, the neuro-oncologist delights in my tumor's rareness, glee barely covered. Solve for why. A silversmith brings an unknown number of mummies into Philadelphia in 1800. If they are stored on Dock Street for 32 years and all but one are destroyed, how long until their names are recovered? 2. For coming forth into the day, after Sappho. When sleeping through the night traps their eyes, I let the cooling mist of my breath flash knives across their lids, hewing the twist and twine of night bark. My lips are Anubis, a blue bowl of oil to catch the fruitful mud of holy dreams. We are housebound, putrefying knots of flesh, yawning utterances while hookworms moss our livers. There is so much life in the decaying. I have come for all of it. We find Baba in the marsh, riddled with reedy arrows, the nibbling plumes turning a clod of dirt to God stuff. Do not stir the gravel. I am sound, and it is sound. I am possessed in the tumult of storm, made thorn apple embryo, poison and medicine. There are plunderers at the breast of heaven. Once, I was trapped in a stairwell by a butcher. As he cleaved me, pomegranate jewels spilling down steps, I crocodiled, devouring us both. If you have henna on your hands, Bubble will not eat what you cook. My neck is Isis. Under the tendrils' shade, we hold a hope for restoration by rose, lichen, moss, and bee song. Pressing my lips to hers, I find her skull much smaller than I imagined. My fingers a delicate wreath embroidering her hair. Startled by a child's affection, the 5 downy ducklings leap from the roof before they know flight, breaking an opening into the sky. Over the lapis years of loving you, from a single fruit to a grove of towering date palms, my worries have grown. A phone is put to the ear of my cousin hours before his death. his breath a worn-out husk rattling back to my goodbye. Circumstellar, this boundless body. My tumor is a murmuration of starlings, shielding me with their sweep and swoop. No part is without a God.